Hi everybody, I'm sitting today with Hadasa Ben Ari. She is an editor, content creator, and author of The Heroes of October 7th. I have been working with Hadasa for a couple months now, and I have to say that one thing that I love so much about this book is that the stories are so inspiring,
Really?
and they also, after reading these stories, we're left asking ourselves what we would, not what we would do in that situation, God forbid, but how we ourselves would step up and be leaders for our community and for people who are in need. So I wanted to talk with you, Hadasa, today and ask you a few questions. You're a mother of 7 kids.
Yes.
And on October 7th, you were with your children in the morning and going through, hearing the rockets and being in the safe room. Now, you had told me that when you went home, you were told not to really talk about the
Yes.
situation in
Experts
Israel.
online told and on television told us parents and teachers not to tell the children anything about the war.
So, can you talk a little bit about, um, you know, how did you start to tell these stories to your kids? How did that even come about?
I wanted to connect my children to the story. When I'm saying story, it's not just about the war. This is the Jewish story and the Israeli story. Like the history is being written day by day here in Israel. So I asked myself, what can I do? I've told them, okay, let's bake cakes, let's write letters, let's pray. But I saw that my children are trying to please me, and I didn't saw the spark in their eyes. And I've asked myself, if I won't tell them anything, so how they will know what do they know now. And I didn't want them to know information from the internet and not a reliable source, or from their friends or their imagination. So one day, a week after the war broke out, I asked them, do you want to hear a story from this war? And then I told them, just like that, the story about Rachel Edri from Ofakim. The terrorists took her and her husband hostages. And when I finished the story, I saw my children, they looked at me, and I saw a spark in their eyes, because I felt like I had success in connecting them to the hero that within them. And I told myself, okay, this is the most important thing, like to get out the fear and to make them be connected to the most important thing that is happening, the hero that within them.
Mm-hmm. And so, how did it come to be that you went from telling your children these stories to collecting stories from other people? And then, how did it come to be that you published them in the book?
When after I told them the story and I saw they got emotion, I told them, from now on I will tell you one story every day. And to myself I said, okay, I need to write a children's book about the stories, heroic stories from this war. So I called my best friend and I told her, what do you say? Should I do that? And she told me, yes, I know perfect graphic artist. She will do the graphics, and I know someone that can do the social. So after 7 days, we found ourselves 4 women that our husband was drafted into service, and we started to wrote the stories, to write the stories and do the graphics, and we publish it on Facebook and Instagram. And
so these were stories that were published on social media.
Yes, at the beginning. But then after we started to write the stories from the social media, parents started to call us, parents of the heroes, and women's, the widows of the heroes. And they told us, please write about our loved ones.
Wow.
So we started to write their stories, and it was really exciting. And now I'm still telling them, we are telling your stories all over the world, and we won't forget them.
So how many stories did you
200.
collect? 200 stories
Yes.
throughout the course of the past year?
Yes, and they are all on our website, giborim slash kids.com. This is a website on Hebrew, English, and French. And now we publish the book.
It's wonderful. So can you talk a little bit about this balance that you managed to find between, let's say, protecting your kids and conveying these stories in a safe and sensitive way versus, you know, exposing them to all the brutality and
Yes.
horrors that were going on? How did you find that balance?
First of all, before I wrote the first story, I called a senior child psychologist from one of the best hospitals in Israel. And I've asked her, please tell me, how can I write? How cannot, if to write or not? And she told me, okay, first of all, you must say they were kidnapped, they were killed, he got injured. Okay, but don't give over graphic descriptions. Okay? And she told me it's so important to tell the story, like see if the story is suitable to your child aged, and the stories are suitable to kids in age 9 to 12 here in Israel. Overseas, I think it's better like 10 or 11. And she told me, no, it's so important during when you're telling them during the story to look in their eyes and to hug them or put your hand on their shoulder. And after the story, make discuss the story. And it's so important to tell them, I felt really sad about this soldier. It's really sad and my heart is broken. Okay, because the kids can see that it's good to talk about your feelings. And child psychologists work with us over the stories.
Do you think that there's a difference between the way that we talk about these stories to children in Israel versus for kids that are outside of Israel?
Of course, I think that in Israel, children they are exposed to all of the stories. Their fathers are in the army, their mothers sometimes they know that they are kidnapped. Overseas, I think that every parent needs to ask himself, what can I say to my children? But I think that when we are telling the story, like when we decide to tell something and something that can give strength and resilience to our children, so it's the most important thing that we can do to them. So we don't need to hide what is happening and hide the news. Children always have their own ways to know.
Yeah.
But when we are telling them something, they can feel the deep meaning of what is happening, and we can connect them to the hero that within them.
So let's say if there was a group, in the States or Canada or the UK, either in school or in a Hebrew school or a camp, a youth group. So how could they use this book?
That's a good question, because I think that first of all, when we are telling the stories, we can hear how they, heroes are not born overnight. So when we are telling the stories, and not all of the stories are stories from the battlefield, we have stories from the heroes' childhood or when they were teenagers. So we can listen to the stories and we can learn how to be better people. So first of all, tell the stories. Second of all, I think that after we are reading the stories, we can decide what we can do to help or remember those heroes and help the families and the widows. So, we can read a story and then tell ourselves, okay, maybe we'll do a Zoom meeting with the family and doing an interview to ask them questions about his qualities, and then we can write letters or make a dance or a show or write songs, and then send it to the families. I think it's so important. And another thing, all of the soldiers has the one thing that they used to say Okay, like when there is not in a place that nobody wants to be the first. Okay, and it's better be you. So you can write this sentence and send it to people on holidays, okay, or before Shabbat, or before holidays like on Purim, Mishloach Manot, and at the beginning of the year, or of course at Hanukkah we can tell their stories, okay, like during all the holidays, to
Yeah.
think how we can bring their messages to the world and be better and make the world a better place.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because it really shows that the heroes that you talk about both in the book and on the website in these stories, they're not just, stories from the past. They really have left a legacy for all of us to, learn a lesson from them. And
Yes.
I think that's very powerful. I'm curious, when you talk about the Jewish holidays, especially with Purim and Hanukkah, so, we learn about our Jewish heroes, and the characters from these stories, how, children grow up thinking that that Esther Amalka and Mordechai and the Maccabees, these are our heroes. And I'm curious what you would say, based on your working on these stories with today's heroes, what in your eyes makes a hero?
That's a good question, because I think that we wrote about everyday people, and this is our new heroes. I want the children all over the world to know that they are heroes that are not Captain America and Spider-Man. Okay, we have our heroes, our cultural heroes. They are part of the history of Israel and the Jewish people. So I think that those stories are reminding us that we are all part of the same thing, of the Israeli story.
That's beautiful. And I am curious to know, given everything that you have been through throughout this past year, you didn't just collect these stories, you were living these experiences together with your family. And I'm curious to know, do you see yourself as being the same parent now as you were last year before all of this?
You are reminding me that one day my kid came back from school and he told me maybe they will throw me up from school tomorrow. So I've asked him why, hell why. So he told me, I waited to one of the games in school, and then some kids from the, I don't know, that they are not at my age, just threw me out. So I punched them, and I've asked him, okay, but you couldn't, why you didn't wait? And you can tell your teacher, please help me. And he thought a little bit and he told me, okay, I know. But I told him, I'm writing stories about the heroes, and their heroism was built during their whole lives. So if you would wait 1 minute, just 1 minute, this is the thing that is building your center. Okay, so this is the most important thing. So he listened, and then he went, and I didn't needed to say anything else, because when now we're saying hero in our house, they actually know. When I'm telling my little girl, wow, this is fantastic that you are such a hero because you gave your sister your game. And when I'm telling her you are such a hero, like she's so proud. And
they've internalized it.
Yes.
Wow, that's wonderful.
This is part of their lives. And I think that also they are able to learn about the war and to hear about tough things. And there's something they're saying, this is a great miracle, what is happening. They're telling this about hard things. So why are they saying this is a miracle? Not like a mystic or something from God miracle. Miracle, when I'm saying miracle, it's like when a man is using his qualities to get over something. about his self needs to
Mm-hmm.
help others.
Mm-hmm.
So now they know there are miracles. People, human beings, are miracles.
You mean like overcoming your own personal needs in order to help somebody else?
Yes, and this is a miracle
Mm.
when you can be yourself.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm also curious to know, as you know, I'm sure you've heard that there's been anti-Semitism rising all over the world. There are Jewish kids in school and teenagers and Jewish kids on university campuses, and they're scared. They're scared to show their Jewish identity externally in any way. And I'm curious if you have a message to give to these people who are outside of Israel, who are, they're scared.
Yes.
Do you see that this book or these stories can serve them in a way?
Of course, that's the first thing that I thought for myself when I decided to translate the stories to English and French, because I thought about the children overseas at that diaspora, and I told myself I wanted them to know that there is a little country where Jewish can be proud,
Mm.
really proud. And things are not like they seem over news and television. This is something what is happening in Israel, the brotherhood, fighting shoulder to shoulder, that we can be proud of ourselves, not because of the army actions, not just because that, because we are all heroes
Mm.
in Israel.
It's beautiful. So when you say that we're all heroes, what are the values that you feel are the common denominators that you see from the stories?
I think, first of all, I think that heroism can be a lot of things. You can be a hero when you are jumping on a bomb, and you can be a hero when you are hiding in a closet. You can be a hero when you save one man, and you can be a hero when you save 700 people.
Mm.
Okay, so I think that hero is the one that listen to his heart, and when you truly really listen, you just know what you need to do. And over there we have all the qualities, like to be grateful and to help others and to listen to yourself, it's heroism. And to help others overcome your personal needs, this is heroism.
Mm. So there are 72 stories.
71 stories.
71
in this
stories
book.
in this book.
Yes.
Are there any more stories on the way?
Of course, I hope we will publish the second and the third volume. That's my great prayer. And widows and the parents of those heroes sending me message, please, we want the second value.
Oh, that's
of
wonderful.
This one. Yes,
That's wonderful.
I really hope we will.
Well, I look forward to seeing the future volumes of this. And for anyone who is interested in supporting Hadassa's work, just so you know, a portion of the proceeds from the Heroes of October 7th go to help the Brothers for Life, Achim L'Chaim,
Yes.
which is an organization that helps rehabilitate soldiers who were wounded in the war. And we look forward to future volumes of this book. Thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank you.
joining me.
Thank you.